from the government pretty much with no strings attached. That in itself is equivalent to a 6.5% rates increase or more than the total residential rates collected from any one of our local board areas last year. And Mayor, how you did it, I'll never know. I told you to look at some options, but I never thought you'd come up with this one. But I have to say, I'm still nervous. I'm still really nervous about how we're going to do what we want to do. And I'm still unsure as to the impact of more COVID variants on an Auckland population that may be close to being fully vaccinated now, but we will all need a booster before the 1st of July next year. There are plenty of other uncertainties too, including we still don't know from central government whether they will keep putting that tax bill on us of 30 mil for this year. We still haven't had that in writing that that's going to go away. And that nervousness and an intimate knowledge of the problem we have within our income, our debt, and our expenditure challenges was the reasoning behind the vote, behind my voting against for the one formal amendment that was not specifically clear as to its impacts. And I want to make that very clear. So on the climate target rate, look, I love that it supports the rollout of public transport to parts of the city underserved. It's all very well to promote public transport and lowering our carbon emissions, but if we have parts of Auckland that have no choice but to use their cars, as public transport is not available to them, we have to do something about that. I also continue to support the work with central government on options such as congestion charging, because the targeted rate actually doesn't change behaviour, and that's one thing that does bother me. And ultimately, that's what we need to achieve. A congestion charge is far more effective in that regard, and arguably those in higher rated properties are also better placed to reduce their carbon footprint in other ways, such as switching to electric vehicles. But we have to do something. So I do support taking this to the people of Auckland to hear their views as to whether they support that this action by a targeted rate to address climate change issues facing Tamaki Makaurau Auckland is the right thing to do. Mayor, I thank you very much for putting this together. It's been incredibly tough, and I seem to have said that 3 times already this term. It's been tough chairing your finance. We're not there yet, but boy, the challenges are Everest in proportion, and I'm no Hillary. But congratulations on putting together this package, and I look forward to asking Auckland what they think about it and commend it to you for final comment and to the vote. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for your comments, which are much appreciated. And thank you actually to all of our councillors who have made thoughtful comments on this issue as we've tried to tackle the challenges that are in front of us, both short and long term. I do want to acknowledge our officers, all of our officers that have worked on this budget, and it's invidious to single people out, but I do want to single out the people that worked on that climate action targeted rate, because they're the same people that put together our climate action plan. And I know that month after month they've worked extraordinary hours because they believe in what they're doing, and they have come up, I think, with a really competent package of measures that are designed to get the biggest bang for the buck to address an issue that, just like our debate today has been dominated by, climate change will be the issue that we debate over the next decade. And long after, I hope, the memory of COVID is a fading memory, we face up to the consequences for our generation, but even more so for the next generation to come, that will have to deal with the enormous costs of rising sea levels and extreme weather events. This isn't theoretical. It was interesting to see in our debate today, not a single person denied the reality of climate change. It wasn't like that a decade ago. So we're acknowledging climate change and its appalling consequences now, but not everybody is acknowledging that you've got to do more than express good intentions about, we need to do something about this. We've got to back good intentions with hard action. And what we all know about life is that if you want action, you've got to be prepared to meet the costs of that action. So there is no simple way out. I do want to look at it in the context of our wider budget, we are in a very tough position. We've got rising costs, we've lost revenue. So to pretend that somehow we can reorganise our budget and find $574 million, it's just not reality. If we want to do something about climate change, then we've got to be transparently honest that there is a cost to be met, and this is how we're going to spend the money, and this is how we're going to raise the money. Nobody will be in doubt that that is what the money is being used for, which is why I've chosen that mechanism of a targeted rate in the same way that we did, I think 3 years ago now, Madam Chair, for the water quality chart targeted rate. Where would, things that will actually stop wastewater pouring into our harbours. Aucklanders don't want that, and they said we're prepared to pay for it to stop it happening. That's what the Central Interceptor is about. That's what the separation of stormwater from wastewater is about. Natural environment targeted rate. How are we going to get the money to try to stop Kauri dieback and upgrade our paths? The things that we've really done that have made a difference in our city and for the future, we've done to a significant degree through the mechanism of targeted rates. And this area is even more important than the two that I've just talked about. To set it in context, we have set the goal that we want. We said we've got to reduce our emissions by 50% by 2030. 2030 isn't very far away. It's 100 months away. And, I think Councillor Darby pointed out that these things take a while after you've put the thing in place. This budget doesn't go through and for another 7 months. It takes a while then to get things up and running. And the evidence that we've got before us is that we don't have much time. We could put it off, but putting it off would be an expression of defeat and an acceptance of failure. We need transformative action, and we need it now. There's just no doubt about that. What did our officers say to us? Officers usually use their words very carefully. They said we're not even remotely close to meeting the target with business as usual. So either we accept we're not going to meet the target and it doesn't matter, even though we know that it does, or we're going to say, no, this is really important. This is important to us, and it's important to the future of this city and the people who live in it. We're talking about our kids, and we're talking about our grandkids. So, it does, I acknowledge the argument about affordability. None of us like to actually put revenue measures in place. We all like to spend the money. Some councillors are very keen on voting for the expenditure measures, not so keen on voting for the revenue measures. But we have that responsibility on us. If we want to spend the money and we need to spend the money, we've got to raise it. But how do we do it in a way that's affordable? Look, I'm arguing that $1.10 a week on the medium-priced property, the residential property in Auckland, is affordable. It is not simply a cost. It is a cost, a small cost, but it's a big investment. And I can't think of a better investment to make than to pay that small amount of money to help ensure and protect our future. So it has been a matter of finding that balance. This will not be the last word in climate change, but unless we take this step and we take this step now and we lay the foundation, everything's going to be too late. And the consequences of being late will be incredibly expensive in human terms, in environmental terms, in economic terms. The longer we leave it, the more expensive it becomes. The longer we leave it, the harder it will be to remedy the things that are creating excessive global heating. I just want to look at people in the future in the eye and say, hey, we did what we needed to do at the time. Because I'm not quite sure how I'd explain to my grandkids that, no, $1.10 was too much. So we've left you a rotten legacy. None of us want that. And the important thing is now that if we don't want it and we're determined to make a change that will benefit all of the people of our city, then we've got to grasp the nettle. We've got to take the action. We've got to do what's right. When you think about, when you move on from this place and you think about what you've done, I think you'll want to look back and say, hey, I did make a difference. and I did take the hard decisions. I did what was right. So I commend this budget to you. Thank you very much for your resilience and getting through to almost 2:30 without lunch. And Madam Chair, I now hand it back to you to put the proposal to a vote.
Thank you, Your Worship. It has been moved by yourself and I have seconded it, and I will now take it to the vote. There is no division being called, so all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? No dissenting voices. I'll take that as unanimous. Thank you, everybody. It is now 2:30. We will come back at 3:05 after a well-deserved lunch break. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.